It's going to be a huge weekend for NFTs. So in this video, we're going to be talking about the major market moves that you definitely got to be paying attention to, as well as some upcoming updates on some of the hottest mints. So overall, in my personal opinion, we're kind of in a bearish period depending on what projects you are looking at. It seems like some of the top 4 or 5 projects are sucking most of the liquidity, meaning most people are concentrating their Ethereum and money into these projects, while these other projects that aren't in the top 4 or top 5 are actually, losing in floor price. Actually, one of my friends sent me this Excel recently where it was like, they were calculating, which projects are going up and which ones are going down. It seems like a Bored Ape, Mutant Ape, Azuki, Moonbirds, CloneX, and Doodles, they've been, increasing in floor price over the last 35 days, and they've been getting a lot of volume. While we look at all these other projects, like VFriends, NFT Worlds, Cyberkongs, Threelanders, like you name it, like they're all kind of going down. So that kind of means that, people are, instead of investing into these, random projects in the top 50, everybody's concentrating to the top 4, top 5. And that's why we're seeing something like a Moonbirds, moon all the way to like 30, 40 Ethereum, right? And we see like Bored Ape, Mutant Ape going crazy as well. And everyone's anticipating the Otherside's meta land that's going to be crazy coming up this weekend. So, it's kind of like, the meta changes month over month, where before you can kind of invest in everything was going up. And then now it's like, well, we don't want to invest in the riskier stuff. Let's just invest in the top 4. And especially because if you are starting out in NFTs, most likely you want to buy something that increases in value. So then when everyone purchases this thing, you're like, oh, everyone's buying this, I want to buy it too. And so that's why this consolidation period happens. And we've seen this before in every other industry that pretty much ever existed. Like if you ever studied like technology, for example, when a new technology comes out, everybody tries to be enter the marketplace, and then in the end, maybe 1 or 2 people win. It's a similar thing with like OpenSea came out. Then we have like Looks Rare, then Gem, which was acquired by OpenSea. And then you have all these other marketplace competitors like basically doing the same thing. And you'll see a company like OpenSea acquire Gem, and it starts consolidating. So in this situation for NFTs, brands are buying other brands, right? Like Yuga Labs bought CryptoPunks, right? So you see that consolidation period, and that pretty much always happens in every industry, where you can have these niches and these pockets and you can be good at what you do, but at the same time, a majority of the money are probably going to go to the top projects. Not that these other niches can't exist, they can do well, but it's like, there can only really be like one Google, right? Or when it comes to advertising, there's like Facebook and Google, which are pretty much the big ones. And so we're going to see that play out over time. And also when we go to NFT Go, we kind of look at the analytics over volume over the past 7 days, right? So this yellow part over here is going to be half the volume basically happening on Ethereum. And we see like in the past 7 days, Moonbirds is taking 11% of the entire market. We got Meebits 7%, Mutant Apes. I don't think ... Is that accurate? I'm not sure if dots should be here, if that's a mistake, because I haven't really seen people be talking about that. But the other ones make sense, like Bored Ape, Artifact, it's like basically just the top project capturing all the value, right? And then whereas if you look at like these top 10 projects are capturing like almost 50% of the entire market, right? So consolidation. If you understand how the money moves, then you'll be able to make a much smarter decision in purchasing something that could increase in value. Now, real quickly, I want to remind you guys that the Otherside meta mint is going to be happening on the 30th. That's going to be Saturday, so maybe tomorrow by the time you're watching this video. And that honestly is going to be a huge mint. We've seen the Ape Coin over the past day, go from $18 to $19. So, it is increasing. But if we talk about like what's been happening in the last month, it launched and then we got to a point where it's like $11 per Ape Coin. And then when all this news is coming out, all these rumors are coming out, it literally just doubled. So even buying around this time would have been a pretty good deal if you anticipated that people would have to use the Ape Coin to purchase land. So like looking at that example in the future, if there's a coin and a super top 3 project is going to force everyone to purchase an NFT using their specific coin, then that's probably a good time to buy when no one's like really talking about it. And then when the hype builds up and people are excited about this thing, well, the coin's about to skyrocket. So that's definitely a play you got to go in there. And also, if you think about it, if you kind of scroll down on the Otherside Meta Twitter page, you'll notice that the brands that they're mentioning in their Twitter posts are like Animoca, Otherside, BAYC, Yuga Labs, right? If you think about it, it's like, okay, like who is Animoca, right? And this is very important for you guys because I feel like right now it's the VC meta, meaning like wherever the VCs go, they take the money with them, right? Venture capitalists, when I say VC, not voice chat. And Animoca Brands is basically like this huge VC that's investing like in a ton of NFTs, a ton of NFT gaming projects in particular. From my research, they have raised over $1.3 billion to do this. this over 23 funding rounds. Like, so where's the VC money, right? So like when we look at Yuga Labs, you know, one of the prominent VCs into Yuga Labs was A16Z, right? Andreessen Horowitz, which is a prolific venture capitalist firm. And then now we have Animoca Brands, which is like front and center into Otherside Meta, and everyone knows that like this brand is involved in this project in a deep level. So they got $1 billion to work with, and I'm sure they put a lot of money into making this project a success. So it's kind of like, if you just follow the trends of what's been happening, it's like first we had Yuga Labs blow up VC money, right? Then we had Moonbirds blow up VC money because, you know, they're partnered with True Ventures, right, with Kevin Rose. And then now we have Animoca Brands doing this thing with Otherside Meta, right? And so that probably is going to be extremely huge, and that's why we see so much volume, so much attention, so much money going into this, because people are following the big fish. And sometimes if you just do that, it makes it a lot easier to make money, you know? Okay, so now moving forward, the next project we're going to be talking about is something more underground, or not underground, but it's not like mainstream yet. That's going to be Lonelypop. A lot of people are looking at this project because, you know, it's got that cute anime kind of vibe. We did talk about this project before in the past, but I wanted to use this analysis created by Mikey_X_ETH, which is a community member in the Parallax Discord. If you want the latest alpha, make sure to join the Parallax Discord, because we got people writing up analysis here, right? So basically he does this analysis, so I kind of just want to use it just to shout out a community member, and the analysis is pretty fair, it's pretty good, so let's go ahead and dive into it. So the Lonelypop is going to be high supply. Basically they got this artist over here, and they're partnering with 0x Studios, which is basically like a launchpad kind of studio, or it's like, from my understanding, they look for artists who have talented art, and then they do all the back end of the Web3 and making it into a Web3 brand. So that's really interesting, and I think 0x Studios have done other projects before. It seems like they did Three Landers, which a lot of people, you know, like Ugly People as well, which I'm not too familiar with, and so I guess they just kind of keep launching these projects, right? You could say that's a good or a bad thing, right? Because it's like, well, it depends how they run the project, right? Because if a launchpad keeps launching projects, it's like, well, how do you manage, like, let's say if they had like 3 different projects at the same time? Hard to say. But then I guess if you have one success in one, you just kind of replicate that playbook for the other. So I guess they can keep minting these things. But I would want to ask, like, okay, like after you mint, who's running the team, and like how are you going to grow this into a brand if you're moving on to the next thing? So that's the first thing I would actually ask. I don't know if they have an answer or not, because I haven't talked to them myself, but maybe they do have an answer, right? Because if they can hire the right people with the money they raise from the mint, then it's all good. But if they can't, they just keep minting new projects, then maybe not too good, right? So it seems like based on this analysis, the community is really active in the Discord. I am in the Discord, and people are talking a lot. But then again, it's like, it's hard to say, because everybody wants whitelist, right? So it's like, how do you know like what's legit, what's not? Because you got like whitelist farmers, people just typing, people hiring people on Upwork just to type, because there's like the whole gray like whitelist marketplace. So, you know, there's always that to be careful of. 10K supply, you know, that's one of the red flags that Mikey talked about, and that's true. So it depends on what price the mint price is going to be to make it fair or to make it more reasonable, right? So in his eyes, he says the team 8.5. I guess because they have 3 lander success, he's giving 8.5, art 7.5, community 6. Interesting. Engagement 7.5. Okay, I'm not sure if I agree with this. I would have to think a little more deeply on what I would give it. I haven't really, you know, I'm not really giving ratings per se on each project that I talk about, but interesting project to look at. You know, I feel like they have good art. They're probably going to have a successful launch because they've done it before. Now the question is, like, after they launch, how much hype will there be? Are people just going to buy it to flip it, or are people in it for the long term? The question I would raise personally is, how do they plan to build like a long-term brand, right? Based on what I'm seeing on, I mean, there's no website quite yet, I believe. Yeah, there's no website yet. On their Twitter page, it's just kind of like teasers and stuff. So it doesn't necessarily answer the question. I guess I would have to listen to like all the different AMAs. And again, to be fair, I haven't listened to the AMAs yet. So if you guys have a lot of information on that and you're like, oh, Patrick doesn't know what he's talking about, fair, because like I haven't spent an hour listening to this AMA. I can only go off of the analysis, the Discord, and the Twitter for now. But yeah, interesting project if you want to check it out. A lot of hype for it, so you know, up to you. By the way, you know, if you are someone who's new to NFTs, or you're looking for a community to like talk about alpha, see what to buy, what to sell, make sure to join the Parallax Discord, because I've been doing AMA every single week. But just yesterday we did a tier list for what we think is some of the top NFTs. A lot of people showed up, so it's a lot of fun. So if you want to be a part of the community, make sure to check it out, and also learn about the Parallax Genesis NFT coming out real soon. Haven't officially announced it yet, but if you want first dibs on potentially how you might be able to get a whitelist, go ahead and check out the Discord and learn more. So the next project we're going to be talking about is going to be SHluv Pals, right? And SHluv stands for self-love. This was actually started by one of my good friends, Michael. As you can see, you might have seen his Azuki around, but this guy's pretty huge. He has 51 million followers on TikTok, 2.6 million followers on YouTube, and apparently he has 23 Azuki. So, you know, he's doing good for himself, right? But SHluv Pals is interesting because, you know, just yesterday we did a live AMA on Twitter Spaces, spaces, and he really told his story of, you know, who he is and, you know, how he got to where he's at and why he wants to do this. And it's really interesting because a lot of times when we see NFT projects led by, let's say, like influencers, I mean, he has like 50 million followers on TikTok, and he get a cameo in the Spider-Man movie, so that's pretty impressive. A lot of times when you have like characters who are like really famous in like Web 2, when they come into Web 3, there's a stigma of they're just trying to cash grab, or they don't really understand Web 3 and things like that. But, you know, from my conversations with Michael, and, you know, we talked before the AMA and stuff, personally, I feel like he's really into the crypto stuff. He's been going hard at it, and he told a lot of interesting stories during our AMA. Like, I think when he first started buying NFTs, like he put in like 400 ETH and he just like went ham, you know, but which is all public information because he said on the Twitter spaces. But yeah, so let's go ahead and talk about this project, right? And to be fair, he did give me and my community whitelist opportunities. He is my friend. We did a, you know, Twitter space AMA, right? But I'm still going to give my honest opinion about what it is. But, you know, just know that he's my friend, and you know, he's helping out our community a bit, right, with the whitelist opportunities. So, you know, just keep that in mind. Okay, so SHluv Pals off the bat, self-love, right? And obviously I know so much about the project because we had an hour-and-a-half AMA. But essentially what it is, it's kind of like you got these characters over here. They're kind of like supposed to be like these little pets that follow you around, like conceptually, right? So you could argue that, is the art like necessarily like amazing? I wouldn't necessarily say so. It's not bad, but it's not competitive in, you know, today's market in 2022, right? Maybe if this came out like 6 or 7 months ago, people would like be like, oh yeah, it's not bad, right? But which is when he started the project. But yes, the art is okay. It's not super strong, but where I think the strength is that the concept that he's putting together is kind of like being the Mr. Beast of NFTs for Minecraft servers. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, essentially what he's doing is there's this business model where people are making a lot of money, like running these special Minecraft servers. So like people buy like skins and stuff in these Minecraft servers, and actually it's a really big revenue source for a lot of people. So what he's doing is he's partnering up with, you know, certain teams that do this, and the NFT is going to connect to this Minecraft server where the money that he raises from the funds from selling the NFT are going to be used for cash prizes for people playing in Minecraft. And then if you have the NFT, you can participate in these things, or you can scholar it out and let someone else participate and share the revenue. And then they're going to do like these crazy giveaways based on the money that they got from the mint, right? So if you think about like Mr. Beast, for example, you know, when he started out, he was just like giving out money, like sponsorship would come in, he would give out money, make a crazy viral video, people watch it, and then the next sponsor wants to come in, he just keeps giving out money. So for Michael, he's kind of doing the same thing, where it's like he's actually pretty successful in Web 2, honestly, especially for his age. Like, he's quite young. He's trying to build his brand by like integrating, I guess, like social media content and making things go viral with NFTs. So that's like the gist of it in the entertainment. And then he's trying to do alpha groups and education, right? And then the last piece is he's going to do a talk show in the metaverse, and he told me some things about it where he's partnering up with different companies that it's like motion capture, you wear all these things on your body, and then he's going to have a talk show like literally like in the metaverse, like it's like Ready Player One kind of feel. So it's a lot of things. You know, he's getting the right people in place to do this, and he has a lot of legit partners. But yeah, so I pretty much just explained it to you. But like, I feel like when you go on the Twitter page, and there isn't quite a website yet, he probably didn't do the best job when it comes to like communicating that, when it comes to like, you know, if you looked at his project for the first like, you know, 20 seconds, you won't get the feeling of like his vision. So you have to listen to any AMA to get that. So I think he can definitely work on the marketing side and narrative side of it for sure. But yeah, he definitely has a big vision. He's young, he works hard, he's already successful in doing what he's doing, and he actually has been in the NFTs for like a year and a half now, and pretty successful in trading. So like he gets it, you know what I mean? He's not like a random influencer coming in NFTs, like he actually gets it. But yeah, it's definitely a project you should watch out for. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't buy it. I'm just saying that I believe it might go as a human being, and yeah, just check it out. So next thing we're gonna talk about is gonna be CloneX, and the reason is because CloneX has been executing so well over the past few months. I feel like there's a lot to learn from it, and if we understand what are the things that they did really well, we can see hints of other projects possibly doing the same thing, and if you're in early, then you could potentially get really rewarded. So this guy Casper over here, he made this little thread over here, or imagery, to explain like how CloneX executed so well since the very beginning, right? So in the beginning, I think in February of 2021, I could be wrong on that, you know, they had like collaboration with like Jeff Staple, they had this pigeon, and then pretty much like if you had this pigeon, you get free CloneX, these vials that you can use to mint, and then these vials will turn into CloneX. Then if you had the CloneX, you get these pods which are free, then you get the monolith airdrop, and then the monolith turns into like sneaker, then you get the vial, then you get another monolith. It's actually pretty crazy, because if you bought the pigeon in the way beginning and then you just held on to it, you would get like all this stuff, and he calculated it would be worth like, you know, over $500,000, right? Which is insane. And even if you just bought the CloneX, you bought it for like 2 or 3 ETH when it minted, then it would like, you know, you get all this other free stuff, which is worth, you know, hundreds of thousands as well, right? So it's interesting that like CloneX and Artifact Studios, they really did execute over the long term, and why I really respect them is because they're able to keep the narrative going for such a long time, and every time they drop something, it's actually exciting. Like we've seen some other projects in the past where maybe they're super hot one day, and then the next thing they put out is like meh, and it's like nobody cares anymore and everybody leaves, right? And then projects die like that. But for CloneX, CloneX is like they're able to produce basically the highest quality stuff. They set the trends. They don't really need to follow anybody, and everybody tries to copy them. And they're constantly innovating. And now they have so much money, so much connections now that Nike acquired them, that like it's just so hard to compete against them, right? If you're like a random person trying to do like 3D sneakers, yeah, you could try to compete against Nike, but like, do you really want to? And that's why it's like, yeah, you can dominate your small niche, but then it's like this mainstream stuff is crazy. So what can we learn from this? Well, I think if we look at projects that have the potential to do something similar, the upside for that is quite high, while the risk to reward ratio, like it's pretty good, right? Definitely something you want to think about, because a lot of people, I feel like they go into these like really weird projects that don't really have that much narrative to push it to like 5x or 10x, and then they risk like losing half their money for just like 50%. So it's like, that's not a good return to risk ratio. So yeah, just want to give you some tips on that. If you want to learn more about that, check out my Discord, because we're talking about it all the time. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and I will see you guys in the next one.